This is the noon, I guess it's the kind of the check-in time in my world. And this is September 23rd, for those who care about what day this is. I even know it's Wednesday. And this is Marilyn, and I'll go over a few things. Sorry we missed this morning. And yes, what's weather like in my world? Well, it's really pretty nice, I have to say. I kind of like this time of the day and time of the weather, time of the year. We had inventory this morning, and my goodness, crude oil just fell out of bed. The interesting thing to me is that all these indices are uniformly down. Crude oil is down. Bonds are coming up along with the yen, the 6, and I'm talking about the spot, the 6J. People who are interested in spreads, I would suggest you kind of keep an eye on the bond market as well as the 6J, because it will sure give you a good idea about trading the UJ. And let's see, what kind of surprises me is this is coming down here, and we haven't seen too much movement in the VIX. It's trading around 22 3/4 right now, not too much change. It does not seem to want to break out of a fairly tight range for the last couple 3 weeks. Anyway, it looks kind of like crude oil may go to the bargain basement area today. It is showing no signs whatsoever it wants to let up to the downside. So when you see these 3 big candles like this on a 30-minute, we're going to have to see something that tells us it wants to turn around. And from the way it's behaving now, that may not come until it gets down here to this this next deviation at 44.95, and that may not even do it. So we'll just have to see what it wants to do. Some of you may still be in a trade with this. I tend to not want to trade it after noon. If you use the 6 tick, it's just cleared this magnet 45.20, and it's coming into this buy zone right here at 45.15, just below there. So we'll see if it wants to give up a little bit here. There have been a number of things in the chat of great interest this morning. So if you have not done so and you find a little time later today, I would scroll back in there. Larry put up a great link to a video that addresses how people learn, and I want to go back and look at that also, because I know that the reason that I had to create my world is because I couldn't learn Daryl's world, and for a while I thought, well, maybe I was just too dumb, and I don't think that's, I mean, you know, maybe I am, but it's a different way that people learn things, and that's why I'm trying to get people to pick the market they want to trade, they have an interest in it for some reason, and then really delve into how that thing works, and the knowing that the indicators that Apex provides us with will, gee, I don't know, I've got the gardener here. Do you hear that? I can barely hear myself think. It's not much? Okay, I feel like, anyway, we all learn a little bit differently, and so if you can pick your market and select the indicators that make sense to you, and then really study how that thing behaves, you can't help but be successful. It's because you got the perfect tools. It's up to each one of us to learn how to use them. One of the things that I want everybody to try and pay a little closer attention to, and I hope you understand, when I do these little commentaries, I'm basically talking to myself. So this is something I have watched, and let me get my pointer on this, because this is really, if you notice how this tiny little wick on this poked up here, when it looked like if you had been in a short trade on this and decided you were going to take it on through the EMA and then lower your stop down to this high of yesterday, and you notice what would happen, this one candle right here came up and it would have taken out your stop. So be careful of those. Here's another one right here at this magnet. Now, what do we know about magnets? There's been a lot of volume at that level before. We don't know what the future brings, but we know that before, the bus driver did a lot of business at that 46.30 level. So if you're using these to trail stops, you would have been taken out by this one tick right here and continue merrily on his way. If you learn to watch for these things, you'll see this happen over and over and over. Here's another candle that came right off of this settlement, and settlement is a major bus driver street. That is the main drag in any apex trading town is settlement. And this poked right down here, took out the stops, and went on its way. So be careful of those. It's something that I have noticed on these new tick shadow bars that didn't seem to be as obvious to me on the diagnostic bars, the old diagnostic bars. So we're all going to have to learn how to adjust and regroup. The other thing I would caution you is this afternoon, when we've had a long run like this down, clearly there's been a lot of contracts coming in here. We're trading volume of 200 and almost 45,000 contracts right now. A lot of those contracts are speculators, and what do we know about speculators, as in us? When we've got a profit at some point this afternoon, they will start to clear these out and pocket that profit. And it may not be until going into the close, but pick your spots to go down carefully. And do not be trying to trade against a trend like this. In other words, do not take a long trade when you see this kind of a down trend, because that bus driver will run right over you and flatten you in a heartbeat. So the other thing I wanted to call to your attention, if you have been watching Brent went up, it cleared a magnet, and it looks like it's headed down to a magnet below it. But I was kind of optimistic about it coming up to that 49.8 level, because that's a pretty good magnet for it. There's been a lot of people in here that are interested in trading NQ and what charts the best and what settings and what have you. I would suggest, if you are trading any U.S. indices, that you have a main trading chart, whatever the 12 tick is, the 15, 19 tick shadow is the old 12 tick diagnostic. So if that's the one you want to use, but I would also suggest that you have a 30-minute candle tiny little thing stuck in the corner, but you need to refer to this from time to time to get a bigger picture relative. I would suggest you have another time-based, whether it's 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever suits your fancy. I use 10 because that's what Daryl was teaching. I don't know that that is the absolute, but I would have a smaller time frame. And I would also, if trading any U.S. indices, I would have the FDAX in a small. I'll show you what mine looks like. I'll drag it over here. It's just a tiny little one with, I think this is just like the 12 tick. But this can give you an idea relative to what color the apex formations are on it. The FDAX leads the U.S. indices markets, and it's well worth having that up there, not to trade, just for an indicator. You use it just like you would put on the deviation levels. You're looking for the clues that lead you to the spot. So we also, I'm very big on kissing. If you've read my little post, you should know that I think kissing is vital to trading. So we also are going to pay a lot more attention to the 3 P's, which I posted in here, which are P for picky. Be picky in your entry. P for patience. You've got to be patient to manage your trade, and that is the only way you're going to get paid. So keep it simple and remember those 3 P's. This guy with the lawnmower or the weed cutter or whatever he's got's about to send me over the edge. So I'm going to go now. I'll come back at 2:30, and this has been my view from my world at Apex Land, brought to you by Apex Investing.